So this is my first YouTube live video. So I'm really excited to try this out. And this is pushing my boundaries because I love podcasting. I've been in the podcasting space for some time, but this is definitely a new place going live. So for all my first time viewers, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Really excited to kind of get this out. But I wanted to really talk to you guys today about some of the conversations I've been having with this group that I've been a part of. Man, I love looking up with these guys at 5 o'clock in the morning every Monday and Wednesday. It's called the Giants Den. Really solid group of individuals, man, because it's not just about a business for us. It's not just about being great husbands or being great fathers. It's how you do the whole 360. It's about being triple double. Got that from ET, I believe. And it's just like, how do you really kind of be excellent at not just one thing, but the whole aspect of life, man, having your health in place, all the good stuff, right? So we had this thing that popped up where we start talking about the importance of competition. And even yeah, I got another rant. Before I even get into that, I want to get this off because I was a little pissed off about this, man. I just got back from traveling. Was I was in Salt Lake City. I was in Las Vegas this past week. And so, with a wife that's pregnant at home, I was like, let me be responsible. I'm gonna go home and take a COVID test, right? Before I, really just lay up and be breathing all over and with everything else. Cause I was on I was on a couple flights. And, went down to my local urgent care facility, paid like $1.50, almost $1.45 to be exact. And I got my COVID test, came back negative, so all is well. However, with that, I'm like, why are we paying for like why are we paying for COVID tests? I just don't get it. Like, regardless of where you stand, Democrat, Libertarian, a Republican, doesn't matter where you stand with this, right? In my mind. Thinking about it just as a pragmatic, way, right? Like over 500,000 people go bankrupt every year just from healthcare expenses alone. I don't understand why this is a conversation for this country. I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't get why you wouldn't want to see some of your tax dollars go towards giving everyone access, not making them choose exactly who they want to go with as their provider. I don't believe in that. I believe in people having the choice, but I just don't get where else we want our tax dollars to go. If somebody would just kind of leave a comment or just let me know that just the other side of the coin. I'm asking because I really don't understand. So anyway, long story short, paid the money. I really feel like my tax dollars should go towards that actual test because it's just responsible thing to do. And I don't understand why it's not, to be quite frank. So if you got something to say about that, drop me a comment before I get into this thought around competition. And even like this, I like to have these conversations because it's not that I'm going to sit here on a pedestal and tell you exactly how it should be. I don't have all the answers. I'll be the first to tell you that. It's a complex matter. Healthcare is not simple. It's complex. If it was easy, people would have did it, hundreds of years ago, right? And provided a much easier, much simpler format. Even the countries that do have, healthcare, access to healthcare for everyone, they have their own challenges. They have longer wait times. There's other things that they kind of deal with, but it's just difficult to see people who probably should have access they can get things accomplished a lot sooner, not have any real options. And for me, spending $150 wasn't a big deal. Went down there and got it done. But for somebody else, they may be going around being a super spreader of COVID because they don't want to put the money up. And I can understand that. I can not being a super spreader, but send your butt home. But if you don't know, you don't really have the money to do it. What do? You just go around and go about your business. So anyway, long story short, let's get back to the main thing, right? So this is sales culture. So let's talk some shop. And when it comes to business, one of the things that's super interesting to me is this idea of competition because it's needed. As much as I try to like, man, we got to be, we don't want to be in this hater mode, right? Because me, sometimes when I view competition, I view it as you're hating on the other person, right? But it's really needed when you're trying to get things accomplished day to day. There's this competitive nature that you gotta just want to come out and be better. And now it's a thin line because sometimes we get into being competitive, like I'm saying, just to be a hater. Like you do it in the name of competition, but you're really just jealous, right? And that's not what I'm talking about. But there's a place where you're challenging yourself to really be more creative that just helps you just come up with different ideas. You're more innovative. And one of the things that I know that is a problem, especially for small businesses, because sometimes they don't have the time or the bandwidth to really step back and think creatively, because they're so stuck on the strategy and the day to day execution of just leadership. What do I say? How do I say it? What needs to happen in the next 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever it may be, and we're not thinking this long term sight of where we're trying to go and really working at this creative process. And a lot of times you can get either too heads down where you're just locked in, like tactical, chipping away at what's happening in the moment, or you get too pie in the sky, high in the sky, heads in the clouds, whatever you want to call it, and you're just dreaming, right? So somewhere in the middle, there's a happy medium. And when you're too much down, there's no creativity. You're acting like everyone else. You're studying everyone else. You're doing what everyone else is doing. And therefore, you come across like everyone else. And you better have the lowest price because that's the only thing that you're competing on, which is, it works. It works for Walmart. But it doesn't do great for small businesses, and it doesn't do great for scale a lot of times, unless you are Walmart, to where your purchasing power is just that much more, which is not the case for most people. So, how do we kind of challenge ourselves not to be stagnant? How do we bring in innovation without being too heady and just too theoretical, right? Um, and my thoughts are: you study the data day to day, you look at it, but you act on it with your own spin of challenging yourself to be better within the data that you're seeing externally. All right, let me kind of slow down here to make sure I said that right. So what I'm saying is that we really need to manage how we challenge and really look at different things, not taking information, absorb it, and then embody it, but look at it strategically and sift through the information and put our own creative at spin on it, right? So, coming up with different messaging, a different channel that everyone might not be on, I think is really, really important. So, and it's all about growth. It's all about trying to challenge yourself to be better. And it's not looking around the room, but it's literally blacking out and going within. So I'll use a real world example. I love doing this because it brings me back to being in the weight room. I remember I feel like I was at my best. I didn't really care what other weight people were pushing. Had nothing to actually do with me. Nothing at all, right? What they're doing has nothing to do with my actual goals. But what I would do is get around people that were going hard. Like the energy was right. The energy was just through the roof. I love that piece of it. But I didn't count my reps so I can just be stuck into it. Creatively, I was just pushing myself to do more and more and more. And I blacked out on that tactical day to day, that little moment. I was blacked out and I was just being super creative with that. But creativity then was just pushing as much as I could, right? I know it sounds so like meatheadish, but it's just a fact. And when I think about it in business, it's less about, are we getting certain deals through? Are we getting these deals done? But you're so tuned in, especially for B2B, right? You're so locked in on your customer. You're so dialed in on where they're going that you just can't help but to find whatever it takes to get things accomplished, or having the creativity to back out early. I think one of the most creative things we could do in business is really say no these days and figure out, how do we walk away? How do we get out of these situations sooner? Like, to me, the more I think about like not pushing or forcing business on anyone, the more creative I think things get, because then you ask the hard, tough questions up front, and not of other people too, of yourself. Like, you tap into yourself before you tap into anybody else. And that's the most challenging part to do, but it's also where the most creativity lies and the most control. Notice how that plays out. So anyway, let me get your thoughts. We'd love to know what you think about creativity and competition. I just think this is a place that we all got to kind of master and figure it out. And you need both, but it's at the right balance. With that said, go check out the Joe Lemon Experience. Tune in to the Real Value Exchange podcast. And most importantly, don't forget about the Mindful Business Renegade Show with my host, Lene Cook Braxton. All right, until next time, I'll have some more rants coming up soon. Whenever I have a moment, I'll do it because I want to keep my creativity flowing. Until next time, I'm out of here.